Today, we're diving into something I'm pretty sure we've all felt, the struggle of managing stress and conflict at work, especially when it feels like everything is constantly changing.
You know this feeling, right? That constant spiraling chaos of deadlines, new projects, shifting priorities. It's the modern workplace whirlwind, and it's easy to feel like you're just spinning around in it. But what if I told you that dizziness isn't caused by just one thing?
That's the key right there. The stress you feel, the little conflicts that keep popping up, and the never-ending change, they aren't separate problems you can tackle one by one. Nope, they're a package deal, all tangled up together.
And look, this isn't just a feeling we have, it's the reality of how we work now. One of our sources puts it perfectly. We're living in a world where the shelf life of solutions keeps getting shorter. Think about that. What worked perfectly last year, or even last month, might just be obsolete tomorrow. And that fact is at the very heart of the challenge.
So, if they're all connected, how exactly does that work? Well, that brings us to the core of the problem, what we can call the vicious cycle. All right, take a look at this. This diagram, it's the whole story. Let's walk through it. A new change gets introduced at work. What happens? Bam! Stress levels go up. That stress makes people tense, irritable, and that can easily boil over into conflict with colleagues. And then what does that conflict do? It often forces another change, maybe a new process or a team shakeup. And just like that, you're right back at the beginning. It's a feedback loop where each piece just feeds the next.
The technical term for this is an interdependent relationship. But all that really means is that when you push on one of these things, the others move too. They're directly linked. And honestly, just understanding that, seeing the full picture, is the first huge step toward taking back some control.
Okay, so we've diagnosed the problem. Now what? We know we can't just stop change from happening, but what we can do is change how we deal with it. It's time to shift from being reactive to being proactive.
And the difference is night and day. A reactive response? That's firefighting mode. You're constantly running around, exhausted, dealing with one crisis after another. But a proactive response? That's about being the architect. It's planned, it's focused on a goal, and it's about preventing the fire from ever starting. It's about breaking that cycle before it even gets going.
So when's the right time to be proactive? Well, you might think it's when things start going wrong, but check this out. The most successful organizations start planning their next big change right when things are going great, at the peak, in the maturity stage. The big idea here is you need to start building your next ship while you're still sailing smoothly in your current one. Don't wait for it to start sinking.
So how do you actually do this? Well, it breaks down into 5 pretty clear steps. First, you spot the need for a change. Then, and this is so important, you get everyone on board. You create agreement. Then you implement the change, and you're actively looking for and removing roadblocks along the way. And finally, you reap. That's review, evaluate, and plan for whatever's next. It turns change from a one-time crisis into a cycle of constant improvement.
But you know, flowcharts and processes are only half the battle. The other half is all about people. And this is where a manager's job gets so critical. It's about shifting from just managing tasks to really coaching people through the chaos.
And I want to be super clear about this. Coaching is not just another word for managing. It's a totally different mindset. It's about building real trust, making sure everyone understands the why behind what they're doing, and helping your team come up with their own action plans. It's a partnership, not a hierarchy.
And when you get this right, the payoff is huge. Seriously, we're not just talking about warm, fuzzy feelings here. We're talking about real, measurable results. Great coaching leads directly to better job performance, more commitment, and fewer mistakes. It builds the kind of trust that lets creativity and innovation actually happen.
So you might be thinking, this sounds great, but I don't have time for long coaching sessions. Well, check out this brilliant little tool called the 2-Minute Challenge. It's so simple. You state an observation, then, and this is the magic part, you wait for them to respond. You remind them of the bigger goal, ask them for a solution, and then you agree on it together. It's a quick conversation that puts the ownership right back on the employee. That's real empowerment.
All right, so we've talked about the big picture organization, and we've talked about what managers can do. But now, let's bring it all the way down to you. What about your personal toolkit for dealing with all this?
This might be the most important takeaway of all.
You can't always control the external stuff. The reorganizations, the new software, the difficult colleagues, a lot of that is just out of your hands. But your internal response to the stress it creates, that is something you can absolutely learn to manage. This is how you shift from feeling like a victim of your circumstances to being the one in charge of your own well-being.
And here's a simple way to do it. The AAA model. It's super easy to remember. First, awareness. Just stop and identify what's actually causing the stress. Give it a name. Second, action. What's one small thing you can do about it? And third, attitude. This one's about consciously choosing what you focus on. It's a simple but powerful little framework. And think about it. When you manage your own stress, you're way less likely to get pulled into workplace conflict. You become a force for breaking that big vicious cycle we started with.
So, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a question. A challenge, really. We've talked about this big cycle of stress, change, and conflict. Now, think about your own world, your own job. What's one vicious cycle, big or small, that you can start to break today?